Emmy award-winning composer for Downton Abbey, which has returned this year in feature film form, which is exciting and sees him entering the sort of movies discussion on in Downton Abbey. I'm at Noah Goldderby to ask you, John, what was the biggest difference for you approaching Downton as a film over a television show?
Actually, it really wasn't that different, because it wasn't as if we were trying to remake the TV series. It's a direct continuation. The story just carries on. I think there's a gap of about a year and a half of where we left off in series 6 to where the movie. So a lot of the themes that I was that we ended up with at the very end of the series, TV series, kind of found their way, into the movie. I mean, the biggest difference for me was, I had a bigger budget, and I also had a bit more time to write it as well, a bit more time to experiment. So that was really the only difference.
Yeah. So when you have the bigger budget for the film, what does that mean? What are you able to do with that? And what are some things you're able to play with?
Yeah. So we took longer to record it as well, so we could spend more time kind of shaping the dynamics, around the dialogue. We had double the string size. I think for the TV series I usually used about 34 strings, and this time we had 70. Okay. So it was really, and it was. I mean, that is a big difference, and you do notice it, I think. But to be fair, the TV series always kind of sounded a bit cinematic anyway, I think. So. Yeah.
No, very much so. By the way, John, I'm just going to disable my camera so people don't have to look at my face the whole time. But I think I'm still here. John, what was your favourite moment in the film? And what was maybe your favourite moment to compose?
Well, actually, kind of the beginning and the end, actually, funnily enough. I mean, the first 5 minutes of the movie is just basically all music. And I knew that was going to be the case. And one of the features of it was, the producers wanted me to hold it, because the tune is kind of so famous now. We didn't really want to open with that. We wanted to kind of hold off on that and then, hit the audience with it. I think it comes in about 3.5 minutes actually into the show. And then at the end, the hardest thing actually was the balcony scene between Branson and Lucy, because originally there's this ballroom scene, and there's Johann Strauss II being played by an orchestra, and the idea was that the ballroom music would follow them out onto the balcony, which they'd be dancing to. But funnily enough, the Johann Strauss II, the waltzes, they just weren't actually, it just wasn't really romantic enough and kind of modern enough for both Branson and Lucy. So I had to metamorphose from the Strauss kind of into sort of Downton music, kind of seamlessly, without the audience really being aware of it happening. And I was really pleased with the way that worked, I think. And so for me, that's probably my favourite moment.
Yeah. And what was it like coming back to something that you'd sort of said goodbye to a couple of years ago?
Oh, I mean, it was, what I had to do was I watched all 6 seasons over about a 3-month period, just to remind myself of how the music, worked in the TV series, and that was really useful. But also, I carried on working, and I still do work for the company that make Downton Abbey. I was doing, other shows like The Last Kingdom, which they were making. So I was always in touch with them, and the idea of the movie, never really went away. From when we finished the TV series, there was talk of the movie, and then, 6 months it would look like it wasn't going to happen, then it was. So, it was always going to be there. It was always there, and that was great when it eventually, actually happened.
Yeah, like when you were going through that binge of the 6 seasons of the show, was there a particular scene or moment that just stood out to you and you said, oh, like that you just loved?
I mean, I was really surprised at season 2. I thought it was how good it was. I mean, how it was such a good idea to turn Downton Abbey into a kind of war hospital, basically, for during the First World War, which genuinely happened in those days. And I think it's just that the sheer sort of scale of storytelling. I mean, I think it's probably my favourite scene in the whole of the TV series is when Mary turns up to say goodbye to Matthew at the train station, and I think it's the beginning of, I think it's the first episode in series 2, and I really liked that tune, and it kind of stayed all the way through series 2 and into series 3, and then when Matthew died, he took my greatest tune to the grave with him.
Yeah. Did you have maybe other than that balcony scene at the end? Did you have a favourite tune from the movie?
A favourite tune from the movie. I mean, I quite liked scoring the kind of assassination attempt, because we don't normally have that kind of cue in Downton. It's very rarely, that it's kind of high action. And so that was kind of good. I really enjoyed doing that in the framework of Downton Abbey music, which was slightly tricky, but I think it definitely worked.
When composing the film, how do you approach a scene, and how do you approach composing it? Do you read the script? Do you have the images that you're composing it to? Like, what's your process?
Well, it's the music's kind of the last thing that goes on, so I usually wait until what they call locked the picture, so the pictures aren't actually going to change, because the music's a lot about the timing, taking you from one scene into another, and it's very carefully choreographed underneath the dialogue, and so I'm constantly looking at the screen. In fact, and I never switch the dialogue off. I'm constantly listening to it and sort of responding to, even an eyebrow or a smile or a tear or something like that. So it's very, very particular, and it literally is the last thing. The last part of the movie is the music.
What do you think? Was there anything that you just was a real challenge for you in doing the film, and something that took a while to figure out?
I think that certainly that ballroom scene, going from the Johann Strauss into Downton was tricky. But actually, and then there were some cues which were quite long, actually. When the King and Queen first arrive at Downton Abbey, and there's all this introductions where they get introduced to all the members of the family. That was quite a difficult cue to navigate, because there's loads of dialogue in it, and also needed to kind of keep things sort of bubbling under and interesting. And I think it's about 3.5 minutes long, so it's quite long, for a cue. So, things like that were quite tricky. But, again, it was like the TV series. There was really only myself, the producer, the director, and the executive producer were making the decisions about the music. So, so there's only really 4 of us to keep happy, really. So, and that helps. If you've suddenly got 10 executive producers all with a different idea, what the music should be, that can be a bit of a nightmare. But that didn't happen in this case.
What was your experience like of sort of watching it in the cinema and seeing sort of Downton play as a big theatrical release?
I mean, it was just astonishing. I mean, when the tune kicked, the premiere in London, the first time I actually saw it in a proper cinema, the audience cheered when the tune came in as the drone shot comes into Highclere Castle, and that was extraordinary. I really wasn't expecting that, and it happened again in the New York premiere in Alice Tully Hall, and I was sitting there, and it's an extraordinary feeling, people, cheering your music in a film. I don't think I've ever seen that before, not even Star Wars. So it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah. And thinking more broadly about the series, what to you is the most special thing about Downton Abbey, the series and the film, like just that world?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I mean, funnily enough, I've been with some of the actors this week in Los Angeles, and we've all been, asked that question. What was it that made it? And I think it just happened to be in the right place at the right time. There's a financial crash. It's quite a warm, cozy. It's entertainment. It's there's heartbreak in it. It's about what it's like to be a human being, except 100 years ago, and things were slightly different, and people have that ability to kind of look back fondly and in a nostalgic manner. I mean, and I think not only the cast very good, but also the crew. Like, I think people like myself and the the costumes and the cinematography, they're all people working at the top of their game when we first started it 10 years ago, and I think that's one of the key elements in it.
Yeah, I think oh sorry I think something that sort of struck me about the particularly when the film came out, as I went and saw it with my mum and my grandma, and just the cross-generational appeal.
Well, exactly. How many movies could you do that with?
Yeah.
I mean, there's not that many. And of course, the thing we were all worried about the movie was that we did wonder whether we'd get the audience actually into the cinema, because, of course, they're normally used to watching in the comfort of their own home, on a Sunday night by the fireside. Would they actually get off their backsides and go and yes, they did. Yeah, amazingly.
Yeah. You won 2 Emmy Awards for your work on Downton, and we're an awards website. Where do those awards live today?
Now, that's a really good question, because I've got quite a lot of other awards, nothing quite good as the Emmys. So the Emmys actually are allowed on the mantelpiece in the lounge of our family home, and none. Sarah, my wife, won't allow any of the other awards in the lounge. Only the Emmys.
There you go. That's interesting. Where are all the other awards that you have? Where do they?
I've got 2 studios. They're sort of bandied about, in parallel of the studios.
Yeah. And now, Downton Abbey, as a film, you'll perhaps be competing for Oscars and Guild Awards and sort of the film side of things. How does that feel?
I mean, that'd be great if that happened. I'm not expecting it. Yes, I mean, the movie's done really well, so it's always a possibility. And I must say, the music is a big part of the movie. So yeah, it's possible, and that would be sensational if that happened.
Yeah. What did it mean to you to win the Emmy Awards?
It was, again, I wasn't really expecting it. I'd been nominated before for Little Dorrit, and I hadn't won. And I can't remember now what I was up against, but I do remember thinking, "There's no way I'm going to win. I'm not going to beat I think it might have been House of Cards, Jeff Beal's score. And I remember thinking, oh, no, there's no way Jeff's going to get it. And so, it was amazing to get it. It really was. And then to get it twice in a row, because I don't think anybody's done that before. I don't think anybody ever won it twice in a row. So that was, it's a fantastic, sense of achievement.
Yeah. I think the first time you won it, you were up against the Borges, Pan Am, Smash, and 30 Rock. I think.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's the crew up again. And then the second time you won, you're up against Arrested Development, the Borgias, House of Cards, Last Resort, and Mr. Selfridge. So some good esteemed companies, some best comedy series winners and drama series nominees there. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and just it looks like, I'm so sorry to break the news to you. Game of Thrones won 2 years in a row, but like this year. So when you did it, I don't think anyone had done it before you. Yeah.
First to do it. Okay, well that's something.
Yeah. You have company.
The won 2 years in a row, right? Of course. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, but only just in like February, only just in September this year. So that's quite breaking. Yeah. Well, John. So fantastic to chat. All the best with the awards coming up.
Thank you so much. That was a pleasure.